All right, so I'm going to share my screen and put the agenda up. One moment. Can everybody see the agenda?
Looks good.
Yes.
Great. So good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 18, 2024 meeting of the Tysons Transportation Service District Advisory Board. My name is Smita Chalapa, and I work for the Fairfax County Department of Transportation in the Coordination and Funding Division. So the first item on this agenda is to review the electronic meeting guidelines. To conduct this meeting electronically and to effectuate the procedures authorized by FOIA, this board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record. Because each member of this board is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members is participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all other members. Accordingly, I will conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to respond by saying here or present and the location from which you are participating from. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can hear each of your colleagues. And following this roll call, there will be a vote to establish that every member can hear every other member. So I will now start with the roll call. Jim Policaro.
Here.
Mark Zetz. Sally Horn.
Here.
Chris Ott. Donald Garrett.
Present.
Raymond Baxter. Erica Yalowitz. Doug Doolittle.
Here, and I'm tuning in from my home on Greensboro Drive.
Great, thank you. Claudia Diamond. I'm sorry.
Claudia is here.
Great, thank you. Corey Scott. Todd Rowley.
Here from Fairfax, Virginia.
Thank you. Jennifer Barry.
Here from Tysons Corner, Virginia.
Thank you. Mei Fang. Chris Boynton. David Schneider.
Here from my house in Vienna.
Thank you. Linda Colbert. And Will Johnson.
Present from Bristol, Virginia.
Yep, so we have 9 members and we have a quorum.
I believe
Erica came on when you were doing the roll call.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what
okay.
I was going to say. Eric is here as well.
All right, thank you. With that, Chairman Policaro, I open the floor for you to request a motion to vote to establish that every member can hear every other member.
Can I obtain a vote to establish that all members can hear one another?
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, with all in favor? Say
Aye.
aye, please.
Aye.
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 Thank
The
you.
motion carries.
So now I'd like to review some guidelines to ensure that the meeting runs as smooth as possible. Please note that this meeting will be recorded. A recording of the meeting will be uploaded to the Tysons Transportation Service District Advisory Board website within 10 working days of the meeting. To avoid sound quality and feedback issues, participants should keep their microphones muted unless speaking. Members of the public who wish to speak may raise their hands to ask a question and unmute themselves when called upon. If you are joining us by phone, please press *5 to raise your hand and wait for a moderator to call on you to ask your question. Then press *6 to unmute yourself. So the next item on the agenda is an action item to approve the meeting minutes from March 29, 2023. Mr. Chairman, the floor is open for you to request an approval of the March 29, 2023 meeting minutes.
Okay. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes. And I would like to request a motion to approve those minutes of March 29, 2023.
I so move.
Second, somebody second, please.
Second.
All
Sorry,
in
who was
favor of
that?
approving, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the next item on the agenda is follow-up items. First, we have the scooter usage data. FCDOT has requested this data from the service provider, and we are yet to hear back from them. And we will send it to the board as soon as we get some data back from them. Next, we have the rate assessment. So at the last meeting, a request was made by Jim Policaro for the sunset tables that show when the service district tax was estimated to end and when a rate assessment would be done. So we did an analysis, and our analysis shows the Tysons service district will meet all its obligations by the year 2046, with the service district contribution at approximately $350 million. We assumed a 3% growth percentage in our analysis, and without applying this growth percentage, the obligations will be met by the year 2039, with the service district contribution amount at approximately $253 million. Next, we have the Tysons track. I'm sorry.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Wait,
Sure.
so just as a, I have a clarifying question.
Sure.
So you said when you didn't apply whatever assumptions, it would end sooner, or?
Right. It's when we typically use a growth percentage, which is about 3%. So if we did not use that growth percentage, it would be $253 million, and that would be in 2012 dollars. But then using the 3% in today's dollars, estimating the inflation would come to $350 million, and that would be reached at in year 2046.
But then what was the other year then? Because you said 2046, you said another year.
2039 was without using this growth percentage.
So that's not adjusting for inflation, or is the growth percentage like anticipated property value growth, or is that just like the cost, like the whatever the value of the money is?
Right. It does not assume any inflation. It's everything's in 2012 dollars.
Okay.
All right. So next we have follow up on the Tysons tracker. Raymond Baxter had asked if a transportation GIS layer would be included in the Tysons tracker. So staff will research adding this layer to the tracker soon, and hopefully in the fall meeting, we will have that update for you all. Next is access to Tysons.
I would add, if we don't have a fall meeting, I would add that if you coordinate with me, that we would go ahead and send that out to the group in absence
Sure.
of a fall meeting. Oftentimes we don't have a fall meeting.
Okay.
So
Sounds good. Thank you.
thanks.
And then we have the access to Tysons reports. Mark Setz wanted to know if a report could be generated at any point in any given time. So what we heard back from our land development folks is that a PDF of the Tysons tracker is published as a Tysons tracker archive reflecting individual publication years. And those reports are available online in addition to the PDFs of previous Tysons annual reports. And I have the link, which I can share with everyone, either in the presentation or in an email to you, Jim.
This is Doug. It'd be most helpful to have that in an email.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think that brings us to the presentation. I'm going to share my screen, put up the slide in just one moment. So good evening. Welcome to the Spring 2024 Tysons Transportation Service District Advisory Board meeting. And here I will give you all an update on the Tysons transportation projects. So here's a brief overview of the presentation. We will review the FY24 Service District rate and provide transportation project updates. And after the presentation, we will discuss the 2024 assessed values and FY25 rate recommendation and the project allegations. For development updates, please refer to the Tysons Tracker tool via the link that's provided on the bottom of the slide to monitor the progress of development and transportation projects in the Tysons area. Now we'll move on to transportation updates of all the projects. So here's a map of the 17 major roadway projects approved in the comp plan amendment to be partially funded by the service district tax revenues. Out of the 17 approved projects, 2 have been completed. 1 is under construction. 9 others are in study, preliminary engineering, or in the design phase. So this project widens Route 7 from 4 to 6 lanes from Jarrett Valley Drive to Reston Avenue. The total project estimate is $314 million, and construction is 76% complete, and it is estimated to be finished by summer this year. So this project widens Route 7 from 6 to 8 lanes from Route 123 to I-495. The Board of Supervisors approved final BRT recommendations in July of 2021, and design will continue, including the approved BRT lanes alignment. And the latest update is that the project pipeline study for future BRT has been completed by VDOT, and in 2022, the county received $38.5 million in smart scale funding to advance this project. $10 million in service district funds are allocated for design, and staff plans to request advisory board approval to allocate approximately $35 million in service district funds towards this project, and this will be discussed in a later slide. So here's a little background on the Route 7 BRT project. So the study was conducted by NBTC and included participation from numerous regional partners in the area. This project will connect to Alexandria's West End Transitway at the Mark Center. The study recommended dedicated bus lanes within Tysons and between Seven Corners and Bailey's Crossroads. So the next phase will look at transportation analysis for the entire Route 7 corridor. There are a few other projects that are underway. We have the Route 7 widening from I-495 to I-66, and design will continue now that the BRT recommendations were approved by the board in 2021. $10.5 million in service district revenues have already been allocated for this project. And then there's the ramp from Greensboro Drive to Dulles Toll Road. The study began in January 2021 and is expected to be completed in summer this year. So $1 million in service district revenues have been allocated towards this project.
Smitha, do you have any any sense for when that construction on that ramp from Greensboro Drive to the toll road will begin?
I do not have that information right now, but I can definitely find out and circle back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. All right, then we have the Tysons Fire Station, Tysons West Park Center. So this project redevelops the fire station on Jones Branch Drive to include 5 fire station bays and a 7-bay transit center. It will provide new access to Dulles Toll Road, and the total project estimate is $20 million, and design is currently underway. Now we'll cover some of the Tysons Stable 7B projects. So we have the Route 123 modified intersection treatment. This is from I-495 to Dulles Connector Road and I-495 to International Drive. And multiple options are being considered for both projects. And the preferred alternative analysis was completed in summer last year, and final recommendations will be shared with the public in the near future. I was told by the project manager that it's going to be most likely in the next couple of months. So here's a graphic of the areas that the Route 123 study covers. We have a median U-turn, or the MUT at the intersection of Route 123 and Colshire Drive. That's being proposed. And then you have the super street, also called a restricted crossing U-turn or an R-cut, at the intersection of Route 123 and Old Meadow Drive. That's also being proposed. So the Cleveland Ramp project modifies the eastbound off-ramp from Dulles Access Road to Route 123. 2 options are being considered. This project is included in the Route 123 modified intersection treatment study, and county staff is currently discussing funding strategies with VDOT for advancing this project. The Route 7, Route 123 interchange project, 3 concepts are being considered. The evaluation is temporarily on hold, and we're waiting on the BRT recommendations before scheduling stakeholder meetings at this moment. Then we have Gallows Road at Gallows Branch. A study will be initiated in the future to start this project. So here is a map of the ongoing grid of streets development as of June 2022. We will cover a few projects that are advancing in the next few slides. The conceptual grid of streets, this was adopted in the comprehensive plan as map 7, sets forth a street network in Tysons. It provides greater network diversity, more direct connections among various locations, and accommodates a variety of modes in transportation. It is envisioned that the grid will be implemented primarily through the redevelopment process. So this map illustrates progress on the implementation of the conceptual Tysons Road network as of August 2018. The map shows the existing road network prior to the adoption of the conceptual Tysons network in the comp plan, network links that have been implemented since the adoption of the plan, and network links that have been approved but not yet built or are currently being proposed by a rezoning application. The county will continue to monitor and report on the implementation of the grid of streets annually. Here we have the Lincoln Street project. So this project will connect Route 123 to McGarty Road. The total project cost estimate is $47.9 million. Design is about 15% complete. Construction is scheduled to start in fall of 2025 and is estimated to be completed in December of 28.
I have a question about that one.
Sure.
Is that going to like cut through? And I mean, in that area, they did a lot of work with like that sort of like nature preserve type thing. I forgot the name of it, but is that going to cause like any disturbance to that or like lessen like the amount, you know what I mean, in that area?
Okay, I will have to check with our project manager on that, and I'm afraid I'm gonna have to get back to you on that.
Yeah, because I'm
Yeah,
looking at
that's
the
in
map.
the area, the Scott's Run.
Scott's Run. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm just wondering if that is gonna. I mean, there's like a beautiful trail and stuff like that there now. So I'm wondering if that is gonna cause any of those improvements to be displaced or anything.
Yeah, I'm sure that they're gonna look at this as part of the environmental analysis for the project. And I'll be happy to share any information if that's been completed or what stage the project is in once I check with our project manager on that.
Great.
Hi, Ray Baxter joined.
Hello, Ray. How you doing?
Good. Have some problems logging in, but maybe it's because the weather's too warm down here in Florida.
Nothing wants to work down there, right?
All right, so this part of the presentation will cover transit improvements in the Tysons area. Here you'll see a map of transit service that's currently operating in Tysons. This slide shows a summary of implemented service improvements in Tysons. A new express transit service, or Route 660, from Centerville Stone Road Park and Ride to Tysons just started. Talk a little bit about ridership trends. So overall, ridership has increased as more riders have returned to work. Year after year, the ridership has increased 13% in Tysons area, and this is on weekdays. Future improvements in the area include renovation of the Tysons West Park Transit Center, the I-495 Express bus service between Tysons and Bethesda, and Route 494 service adjustments.
Smith, on the ridership trends, do you have any sense on how, with a 13% increase, but where are they as far as capacity? I mean, if we had, a 4% usage rate and then we went up by 13%, we'd be somewhere around 5% total usage. Do we have any figures on how many people are what percentage of capacity is being used on these routes?
Sure, we should have that data. I just don't have it with me right now. But we do have the percentage, which means we do have the data, so, and I'm happy to circle back with you with those numbers.
It's rather low.
Is this just Fairfax Connector? Does it also include the WMATA buses and the Prince William County buses as well?
To my knowledge, this is just Fairfax Connector, but
Connector only. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we get data? Because I know like they have those buses like Prince William, the Omni ride goes from like Woodbridge up to like Tysons. Do we ever get that information too?
Our transit services folks may have access to that information or may get it on some recurring basis. I'm not entirely sure. We're more than happy to reach out to them to see if they can make that request from either Prince William or WMATA if you're looking for Tyson specific ridership information.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just to give an even more exact picture, right? If we're talking about just ridership, recovery ridership in the area, there's more buses that also service the area, so they're going to add to the picture for sure.
Some of that information is online on the Tysons tracker, and all the transit utilization is low, very low.
That's one request we don't have to look for. Mark, thank you. We'll double check.
We'll get back to you. All right, so this slide provides a little more detail on the future Route 798 from Tysons to Bethesda. So this route is intended to address capacity issues on I-495 by providing a faster transit connection between Fairfax County and Maryland for Silver and Red Line riders. Route 798 will run bi-directional peak service during the express lane construction and will be expanded to 15-minute headways and off-peak service once the construction is completed.
Right, and that construction will be completed in 2026.
That is right. I will include that in the slide. Thank you. And here is a map of the proposed Route 798 service from Tysons to Bethesda. So here's a map that shows all of the Tim Sams project locations. All the Tim Sam projects have been completed except for 2 projects. We have the Route 7 walkway and this will be completed in summer this year, along with the larger Route 7 widening project. And then there's the Ash Grove Trail project, and this is going to be completed by the Park Authority. This slide covers the Capital Bike Share Program. 5 Providence Transportation Alternatives Program grant stations that were installed as part of December 2023. And bike share usage decreased in 2020 because of the pandemic, but it has continued to increase every year since 2021. So coming to the Tysons Neighborhood Traffic Study. So the purpose of this study was to evaluate existing and future traffic impacts and potential mitigation measures for 30 intersections in the Tysons area. Feasibility studies, design, construction activities, they're all underway for a few of the locations. 13 intersections, they were chosen based on Board of Supervisors' input, and locations that are projected to fail by 2030 continue to be monitored regularly. So here's
what do you mean by fail?
The level of service.
Level of service, okay.
Right. So they're going to be monitoring the levels of service at these locations on an annual basis, is from what I gather. So here are a few neighborhood study projects that are advancing. We have the Lewinsville Road and Spring Hill Road project. The study has been completed. 4 alternatives were presented, and with 2 advanced for detailed traffic analysis. The offset T intersection is the preferred alternative, and the final report was completed in fall 2022. Then we have the Lewinsville Road and Leesburg Pike intersection project. So this project is actually part of the Route 7 widening, the overall widening project from Reston Avenue to Dulles Toll Road. And this is estimated to be completed in spring this year. Then we have Ballsville Road and Old Dominion Drive. Intermediate design for the preferred T intersection improvements option was submitted in July of 2021. Community meetings were held in June 2022. And county staff is currently working on the pre-final plans, and final plans are expected to be completed in summer this year. The Dolly-Madison Boulevard Corridor Study, it includes the intersections that are shown below on this slide. A survey was conducted and community meetings were held in 2022. The study was completed in December 2022, and staff has recommended priority improvements to the three projects that are shown on the slide. Now we'll talk a little bit about the revenues collected and assessed values. So between FY14 and FY24, a total of 82 million in tax revenues has been collected. And this is about 26% of the total revenues that's estimated to be collected by the service district in the Tysons funding plan. And this was approved by the Board of Supervisors. Approximately 13.2 million has been previously allocated to projects, and that leaves an available balance of approximately 42.5 million. And those funds are going to be used to partially fund the construction of projects that are currently in design now. Here is a table that shows the projects that have service district funds allocated and how much has been expended so far. Note that the service district revenues allocated to Tysons Old Meadow and Route 7 widening, that's from the Dulles Toll Road to Reston Avenue, these have been fully expended. So this chart shows the assessed value history since the service district started in 2014. The actual growth has been greater than the projected 3% every year until the pandemic. And in 2023, the assessed values increased 1.52% over 2022, but then it decreased in 2024 by about 0.34%. And this is consistent with what we are seeing in other commercial areas around the county.
Smith, a quick question. Do you have maybe I have it here, the average annual growth?
I don't have it on this slide.
Okay, jump to the next.
There it is. So this slide shows a comparison of the assessed values between 2023 and 2024. The Tyson Service District tax remained flat at 5 cents per $100 of assessed value, and the Dulles Rail Phase 1 tax rate remained flat at 9 cents. And staff recommends the tax rates for FY25 to be held flat at 5 cents and 9 cents respectively. So at the end of this presentation, the advisory board will be asked to vote on the 3 items shown on this slide. That is holding the rate flat at 5 cents in FY25, allocating approximately $35 million for the Route 7 widening project from Route 123 to I-495. And then lastly, approval of the revised advisory board bylaws, where we are asking this board to vote on revising the bylaws to replace the transportation partnership seats with the transportation community and alliance members. Here's a few upcoming dates to note. So the budget public hearings will be held from April 16th through the 18th. And we ask that the letter of recommendation to the Board of Supervisors be sent to us sent by April 7th. The Board of Supervisors is scheduled to adopt the FY25 budget on May 7th. And now I will open the floor to discuss the FY25 Service District tax rate, project allocations, and approval of the revised bylaws. Mr. Chairman?
I would like to open this up for discussion. I had one question, if you can go back, since we are being requested to vote on the, go back, I think it's one slide. I think you had a slide previously. No, that good. I wanted to reference this first. The 35 million that goes to the Route 7 widening. Can you go back to the slide that shows the total cost of that project and what is 35 million going to represent as a portion of a project?
Sure. Okay, it's this one right here.
Jim, were you referring to the 7 widening Dulles Toll Road, Ruston Avenue?
The one yes, the project where you're requesting 35 million be allocated to, which I think
I
is this
believe
one,
it's
right?
the 123 to 495.
Yeah, it's this one.
Mhm.
It's this one. So what is that going to be spent on? Is that, what is the total?
Wait,
do
how
we know
much
the
are
total
you asking for 35
cost of
million
these
three
projects?
Yeah, so we're asking between, well, the exact total, I believe, is 35.5, give or take, but we have about half of that. I think the total project estimate as of today is between 75 and 80 million dollars. We've got roughly 35 million from the state through their smart scale project prioritization process. We have a few local dollars, a couple million local dollars in service district funds on this already. The smart scale dollars that we were awarded, while I think they can be used for most all phases of the project, it is more than likely going to be applied to construction. So we would be using service district revenues primarily to fund design, land acquisition, and utilities and construction to a lesser extent. Or at least that's the plan currently.
So this 35 million is coming from the 42.5 available to bring the available down to 7 and change.
Yes.
Why is this project being prioritized of the others for basically the lion's share of what's available right now?
It's just the next project in the pipeline, if you will, in terms of projects to be done. It's, you know, consistent with the comp plan recommendations, the Tysons funding plan recommendations, that these, you know, improvements on Route 7 and 123, specifically this segment of Route 7, get done before the other remaining 17 projects, if you will, within the Tysons wide project list.
Is this going to include is it going to be trying to get the 123 interchange to an at grade flat interchange, or?
No.
No,
Leave that separate.
that would be a separate effort. Yeah.
But Route 7 is a national, it's a facility within the national highway system. This has been a high priority project for a very long time. I've been after them every year to get this project going. It's going to take, when it's done, it will have taken 6 to 7 years. They really need to get on this.
Can we,
Mark? Yeah, but go ahead. And Will had a question too.
can we move ahead to the slide that shows the monies that we've been spending? I think it was around 15 or something like that. Yeah, this is the slide I want. Thank you.
Sure.
I believe that initial $2 million was to get it up to 35% design complete. Is that correct, Ray? Would you know? Because
you know,
until you're 35% complete, you can't qualify for any funds from anybody. But once you're at least 35% complete with design, they know it's serious, and now
Well,
you can start asking for money.
well, we had put money on this thing. That $2 million, I want to say we put on that project like 10 years ago. And the idea was to at least, just get the project advancing, give it some money so that each of these projects, some money, specifically the Route 7 windings and the 123 windings, give them something so that, some survey engineering and technical type work can be done. And the Route 7 projects are, they are the priority. And yeah, we've had money on this thing for a long time now. I can't swear to you that it was intended to get us to 35% design, but you've got a wealth of knowledge in your head when it comes to transportation, Mark. So I can't tell you you're wrong. Okay, we've got a bunch of people with their hands up. So, you know what? I don't know who raised their hands first. So forgive me if I just say, hey.
I think it was Will Johnson.
Okay, go for it.
I thank you. So for the Route 7 widening, I think David Schneider asked my question. So this does not include the 123.7 interchange. The graphic kind of highlighted, so I just want to confirm that that's not part of the scope of the Route 7 widening.
It is not.
Okay. And my other question on that, my understanding is that this Route 7 widening is really to kind of set the stage for the BRT implementation at some point in the future. And Smith, one of your previous slides indicated that there's still a phase of that BRT study that's still hanging out there.
Right.
I might have missed it, but is there a sense of timing on when that phase of the BRT study will be
The study has been
completed?
and then the recommendations still have to be reviewed. And I believe there is going to be public outreach on that. And I was told that it's going to be sometime in the next couple of months, but I will double check and get back to you.
And staff is reasonably confident that the Route 7, at least the cons that's been laid out to date, will accommodate the future BRT without, a lot of, re-engineering down the line.
That's the intent with the design effort. So
that's part of this. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And who do we have?
All right,
next?
I
Don
think
Garrett. Don Garrett.
Yeah. For me, so the request is for 35 million. It gives me pause to I guess allocate like 83% of what we have right now for something that I feel like is kind of, I don't know, it feels a little opaque to me, right? If it's going to, are we just saying we have the money so we can be taken serious for additional money, or is it going to go to like land acquisition, but not the things that are highlighted on the chart? I'm wondering if there's a possibility for us to maybe approve a lesser amount of the 35 million, and then once we get more additional information, then doing the next batch from that.
All right, let me react to that. Then you've got question from Ray Baxter. I am so sorry. I'm kind of like taking notes and whatnot. Okay, so we are anticipating entering into an agreement with VDOT probably late spring, early summer for this project. The project will have to be, it'll basically have to spell out full funding. So by the time we get to the board and ultimately have the project executed, we'll have to have it fully funded one way or another. So the service district funds are our recommendation to the advisory board as they are available. This project, and, the other projects in the Tysons wide universe of projects are the ones in which these funds are intended to pay for. So, if you all wanted to take the stance of, we're may only want to partially fund the $35 million request, we're going to have to revisit, if you will, the agreement that we have with VDOT.
And so that agreement right now is half is smart scale, half is this?
Correct.
Okay. And that's potentially, I guess, for a vote, like if you're doing the MOU, that's potentially for a final approval through the board of supervisor process at some point this calendar year, you're hoping?
We would like to be able to take this to the board. They already have a draft agreement put together that they've given to us for review. So we are looking at potentially, Smith and Owen hate me, but maybe early to mid-May to get this thing through our review process and get it to the board of supervisors. Once we've got their sign off, right around the time we have budget adoption, hopefully, then we could get it back to VDOT and get the agreement executed. But we will need full funding in place when we take this to the board, which would be early mid-May, provided we go in May.
All right, next we have Ray Baxter with a question.
Yes, thank you. And I apologize that I missed part of it. I just had problems getting in on an iPad. I'm not really an iPad person. But in the past, and I've been on the board since 2013, we've always been talking about the 7B projects, and the intersection of 123 and 7 was a unfunded 7B, kind of overlooked in the 2010 master plan. And I guess I'm not sure whether you all talked about it early on. I didn't see a 7B listing of those unfunded projects, and I keep getting the awful feeling that we are building everything up to the intersection from 123 and from 7 on both sides, and still we don't seem to ever have a defined date to complete a study for that 7B or for that intersection. And I just wondered what we have to do in order to avoid a potential disaster of traffic just backing up to that 2-lane bridge. Plus, it doesn't give us any real access on a one Tysons basis, because you can't really get from Southwest Tysons or Southwest Tysons to Northeast Tysons through very little, no walkways really that you can walk over. So do we have a defined plan, time frame, in order at least to get the study done?
Study for the 123-7 interchange.
Right. I mean, we've been talking 10 years.
Well, I can speak from a funding perspective, and that is we have no funding for it. We can go back to our planning and capital project folks to find out, kind of what they've been working on, where they might like to see this in the pipeline, and if they share your same concerns, and follow up with you guys later.
I believe so. Part of the funding issue is the fact that a preferred alternative or a clear path forward hasn't been established. So I think that's maybe what is holding back advancing the funding.
If I may add something, it's complicated because Boone Boulevard will cross Route 123, and so will Old Courthouse Road. So you have Boone, Old Courthouse, and Route 7, and they want to be able to go over Boone, so Boone has free movement across 123. But if they raise Boone and could come back down to Courthouse and go right back up over Route 7, that gives them the so-called roller coaster effect that they've been trying to avoid. So until they finish their design on those other connections to the Tysons grid, they really can't finalize this. And they've been working on this for years. The problem is there are no good, there's no really great solution to this. That's the problem.
And that's why we seem to keep kicking it down the road, because no one wants to tackle it. And yet, what's going to happen when all of that Route 7 and Route 123 traffic get up to that intersection and back up for a mile or two? And then everyone's going to look and say, well, why didn't someone look at it? And that's just my fear, is that we just seem to be an ostrich here.
Right,
and
but on the other hand, the widening Route 7 from 123 to the Beltway should give you better free flow traffic. Once you get past there, it's free flow to the Beltway and beyond. And they're going to widen 7 all the way to I-66 connector. That's going to be a 6-lane facility. Again, I believe it's really important to really get Route 7 widened. They probably won't widen it all the way to the bridge over 123, because there will be they have to keep their options open.
Smitha, can you go to slide 13?
Sure.
I think you may have something here that speaks to the situation. 3 concepts are currently being analyzed.
right, but that's
third concept.
That's the same slide that we see every year. It just kicks the date down a little further. And I live on the other side, just behind the toilet bowl building. Excuse me for using that term. And I will tell you, the traffic getting up, getting onto 7 or getting up over 123 takes me half the time to get out of Tysons than it does to get all the way down to Washington, D.C. And it's because of that bridge. So I just throw it out that I just think that I don't want someone to come back and just say, wow, look at all the traffic backing up. Why didn't we think about that? And I understand there are other priorities that need to be looked at, but why can't we be looking at, okay, if we're going to do that, we're going to do that. Let's come up with 2 or 3 alternatives and at least investigate them so that we're ready to go.
Well, I believe the county FCDOT has made some presentations to the public, and they did not get a good response. When they proposed making that at grade intersection, a lot of people did not like that. So
right.
And there's landowners around there, and you have to be sensitive to the people owning property on each side of it.
No, I understand that, and I understand a flat intersection with that many lanes to go over, and you have handicapped people going across. I mean, that's going to be a 10-minute intersection as a flat intersection. And so it just, yeah, I can see, I'm president of a HOA, and my folks wouldn't like that either. So I don't know. There are a lot of bad alternatives. Can't we at least find a couple that are good? It just seems like we can't. And that's not acceptable, at least in my mind, for FCDOT, VDOT, and this committee, and to not have alternatives in their hip pocket to be able to move forward. So that I've said my piece.
Ray, it is my understanding that DOT and along with VDOT, they will be holding several stakeholder meetings once they have completed this evaluation of all the concepts. And so there's going to be definitely citizens, community members can voice their opinions at these.
Opportunities to provide
Right.
input, for sure.
Right.
But there's no funding for it. Where do you go from there?
I think
Where are
that
we gonna
project
get-
would rise to the top priority-wise. Plus, there's a
If-
lot of
if-
funding left to come from the tax district. The majority
Yeah.
of we haven't even seen yet.
Okay, as I said, I will call it quits.
All right. Thank
I
you,
think
Rain.
there'll be
Sorry, go ahead.
I think there'll be a lot of pressure to deal with that intersection once they have a plan in place. I think the county, I think everyone's going to want to see that done.
I agree. It's on everybody's radar. Virtually every stakeholder meeting that's had in and around Tysons has an interest in this interchange. So I would agree with that.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and hopefully we don't have to deal with a casino that's even going to make that worse.
All right. Next, we have David Schneider.
Hi, just 2 quick points. So, and I think Mark kind of alluded to this, yes, we're going to have future grid streets, but until those connections are made, I mean, the whole concept when Tyson's plan was implemented is that we're going to have parallel valves to alleviate the pressure on 123 and 7. But until those connections are made, have any traffic analysis been done of what's going to happen to Tysons during the construction and widening of Route 7 before those connections are made? We're seeing the first year in a long time, we had an assessments drop this year, and I think it's just something we need to keep in mind as we're trying to bank on future tax value for future projects, the impact of construction on one of our major ways before we have those valves, complete. So has any traffic study been done of the construction impact to the grid in the level of service of Tysons?
So you're wanting to know, I apologize, I am not a road builder, but you're wanting to know basically what VDOT's traffic mitigation plan is when construction efforts are underway on Route 7. Am I asking that correctly?
Well, and what FCDOT's opinion is as well. At the end of the day, we're gonna, any construction project we have to live through, and it's kind of dovetailing into the second project with the rest of the Route 7 widening, seeing some of the costs go up in the timeline. Without having a timeline for this, do we have any protocol on how much, if we're going to commit to 50% of our project, do we have any protocol on how much reserve we need to have? Because odds are it's going to need more funds later, and we're using 82% of what's available now for, I don't know if is there a certain amount that we have to keep because we've been committed to this project?
That's more of a philosophical question for the advisory board. I know at one point in time, back when the advisory board was first established, we had put together all kinds of different financial models to determine, under these different scenarios and under all these different parameters, what would the certain tax rate need to be over, say, a 40-year period, 45, 50-year period, et cetera, if you factor in the fact that we would need to bond at some point in the future. So we were basically setting money aside so that we could, cover 2 times our debt service on any given year. But I don't know. Jim, you've been around here as long as I have, I think. I don't recall any discussion, correct me if I'm wrong, about having a dedicated or a reserve in which, the reserve would not be touched or could not be accessed, but only, certain parameters are met. I don't know if we've ever had that conversation. Do you recall?
Well, it's a little, I see this as a little bit different than the phase 1, the phase 2 rail, or the the Route 28 districts in which you had basically one project and you were, working towards paying that off. So I think the debt service coverage ratio becomes more important for those projects. Here, because there are so many and again, the priorities could change on an annual basis, and we've been collecting a somewhat of a war chest. I don't think that we would have to really understand that question a little bit in more detail from the finance people at Fairfax County, I think, to answer that question. But if we're thinking about it anecdotally or theoretically, I do believe that, David's point is valid in that, and I think Donald also is valid in that, we have been, saving this war chest, but we're ready to spend it, and maybe that isn't the right move. All in to the extent that is being recommended in this report. And I do believe that maybe in the future, this discussion, it's a very good discussion, and Sally has a question as well, and maybe one other that I can't see, but is we should charge the county with going back and possibly providing further information on the planning process for both on the immediate projects, i.e. the Route 7 widening, and also all of the projects kind of, we get the updates, but I don't know that we've taken the planning process as far as we can in detail, at least as it's being presented to this board. Maybe you have it behind the scenes, Ray, but maybe we need to see a little bit more information as it relates to cost and timing on all of the improvements. There's so many, there's a lot. This is these table 7 improvements are extensive, and so it's not an easy task to really get a good summary and a good evaluation of them. So I commend you for the work you've done, but I think maybe in the future a little bit more with regard to planning of timing and cost would help us make these decisions.
I agree, and I wanted, my question. I agree with Mark Zetz that this is a transformative project. It's very important to the future of Tysons.
It is.
I'm just trying to think from the, admittedly, this is my first board meeting now, so I'm just trying to get a feel for it too, that, we're asking to, we have with our duty to advise on these funds, we're asking to open up the war chest. And I don't know the project completion date. I don't know the timeline to know how many years is this going to be over, to be able to say, is that enough? What assumptions are being made? Because, I view our job as, to make a recommendation, and I don't know what I'm basing that on.
Yeah, right. I think that's the issue. Why don't we have Sally weigh in, and Donald had a question as well, or comment.
Yeah, thank you. I'm weighing in from Evora, Portugal. So
Cool.
I have one.
You win, Sally.
Question.
Yeah, Ray B.
I have one question and then a comment, and I'll pose them both just in case I lose my internet connection here. The question is, with the proposed tax rate for FY25, what is the estimated amount of money that we would achieve, additional monies for the fund? And the comment is, I think, both in terms of what Jim said, and what David said, makes a lot of sense. And I think that it would behoove us to think about an additional meeting in the fall where we could go over all of that stuff. When we first started in this group, we had 2 meetings. The first was essentially a meeting where we asked questions and debated the kinds of things we've been talking about. And then the second meeting was a meeting in which we addressed our specific recommendation. I think that would help a lot going forward.
Okay, I have personally no issue in convening a second meeting in the fall, certainly. Donald?
Well, actually, I was going to suggest that due to like the timing and whatnot, if we could maybe convene another meeting, a special meeting, or recess this meeting for like a week or two, just to get a little bit more information on like David was talking about, like the project end date and just like other like certain things before we commit like 82% of these funds to it. I mean, I think it can be a transformative project, and we definitely need more options for the rapid bus lanes, right? It's going to create a more public transit options getting to in the area and everything. But I think some more information would be like helpful. So I'm wondering if maybe we could even just reconvene sooner than the fall to kind of vote on that.
Well,
So project
I agree.
specific meeting for the.
Yeah.
I would
Do we have
like to
time?
get an answer to my question. Are we looking at roughly $9 million, $9.5 million that would be collected in FY 2025?
I believe that's correct, Sally. Give or take,
Thank
yeah,
you.
9.5.
So with the allocation of the 35 million, there would then be 15 million roughly left in the fund. Or 17.
Correct.
9 and 7. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have time? Ray, before you need to take this to the board for budget. I know you had the schedule up. That's my only fear is timing given the date of
Okay,
this
so
evening's
we
meeting.
are, I had heard we want to have a second spring meeting perhaps in a couple of weeks. Is that, what is the purpose of the meeting? What are we trying to achieve? And the reason I'm asking is because I want to know if we can get the information together in time in
Exactly.
2 weeks for that.
Right, exactly. The purpose of the meeting is to understand the total cost of that improvement number. Was it 1 that you're requesting? The $35 million allocation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Ray, to Jim's question, does that mean that, so the tax rate you need to know in advance of the budget hearings that are going to be coming up, but what's the timeline where a decision or official recommendation needs to be made on the recommendation of 35 million? What's our timeline for that specific question?
That can wait. I mean, if we're going to be taking that to the board, think this through. If we're going to take it to the board, call it mid-May. We probably don't need an answer until mid-April, maybe early April. So having a meeting a couple weeks from now to bring you back information, focus exclusively on that project. It's doable in a couple weeks. It meets
Ray-
time. Go ahead, Smitha.
No, I was just wondering, I mean, we don't necessarily have to take it to the board in May. If we can delay it by a month, could we have the second meeting maybe
Yeah,
in
we can
the
do
next
that.
month or two? Because that would be more plausible at our end. To gather more information on the project, that is, so that we can have, you know, the timeline and a little more detail on the schedule and the cost information before we get back to you all.
Right. We could vote on the rate this evening.
You can,
Okay.
yeah, you can absolutely do that.
Hey, Jim.
And then there's also the bylaws, so we can
Yeah,
do
understood.
the,
Go ahead. Understood. Mark, you wanted to chime
Yes,
in?
I have three quick follow-up comments. Number one, I'm amenable to having a follow-up meeting. I think it's a good idea. I do not expect to get any kind of hard dates because, you know, they're not there yet, but I would like to get more information. Number two, if 35 million would be the extent of our financing, and after that, we're done, and VDOT is responsible for all cost overruns and inflation, that is a great deal for the county. And
That's
when it
that's
comes
not
to
going to happen.
It would be, but I'm not sure that is the deal, Mark.
well, I would want to see the T's and C's of that agreement. I would hope that VDOT would step up and said, "Hey guys, we got it. Give us 35 million and we're good." That would be great. But all of Table 7 was estimated to be $3.1 billion in 2012 when they approved the financing plan. It's a lot of money, and of that, only really a sliver of that is coming from the tax district. That's all I have to say.
Fair enough.
okay, thank you all. I
Is
think we
there
can
any-
plan. I'm sorry?
I was going to ask if Smith, if there's any further discussion by the advisory board members. I
Yeah,
think
but
Donald
Don
has,
Garrett?
still has his
Yeah.
hand. Yeah.
I said, well, do you need me? Do we need a motion to move to hold a follow-up meeting about the Route 7 widening project?
Second.
Yeah, I don't know whether or not we need to vote on that or not.
I think there's no pending motion on it, and you as the chair can schedule a special session from
Yeah.
parliamentarian purposes.
I think what we'll do is make a motion to approve the rate and approve the revised bylaws and not approve the 35 million
I'll make a motion.
allocation. Okay. Second,
Second,
all in favor?
Wait, is this
Aye.
on the, what is this on?
This is a motion.
The motion
This
to.
is a motion to hold the rate at,
Oh, yeah.
keep the rate at 5 cents per 100.
and Jim,
And
can we
to
just keep the motion simple, keep the rate at 5 cents? And deal separately with, if we need to, with the issue of the allocation of the 35 million, if you feel we need a motion on that.
Right, we're not making a motion to approve that, Sally. We're only making a
Yeah,
motion
we're
to
not
approve
making a
the,
motion not to approve
text.
it. We're making, the plan is that we would address that at a subsequent meeting in a couple of weeks. We're deferring
Correct.
decision on that.
correct.
It's
So
a
there are
couple of
3
months. I
items.
just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, why don't we do this? Is everybody prepared to also, have they read the bylaws? Do you have any questions on the bylaws if we are going to include that in the motion? I just want to make sure everybody's comfortable approving those as well. or that have any questions on it. Ray, you have a hand up before we state the motion. You may
Ray,
be
you're on
on
mute.
mute.
I'm sorry, I was on mute. My quick question is, why are we substituting one for the other? Why aren't we just adding 2 TCA members? Is it that keeping the partnership on doesn't make sense at this particular point?
I as the member taking those seat, I think I can for both of them because I'm currently on the Tysons Partnership Board and the TCA board. That's how I was able to get this to work. But I think that the Tysons Partnership is in the process of dissolution. And so there will be no Tysons Partnership. So it wouldn't make sense to have 2. We would need to expand the number of seats on the board. And it doesn't make sense to have an organization that theoretically by the next time we have a vote is not going to exist on the bylaws.
Okay, that's good for me.
Okay. Okay, with that being said, can I rephrase the motion and get a motion to approve the tax rate at 5 cents, defer the decision on the allocation of the 35 million to Project 1, and approve the updated bylaws?
So move.
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you.
Great. So I guess that this concludes our presentation for the evening. Are there any questions or items that should be included for the next meeting, other than the one that we're looking at setting up within the next couple of months?
Yeah, just to go ahead.
No, I saw that Doug had his hand up.
Yeah.
And Ray, you too. Go ahead.
I would like to know what happened to the $10 million that we've already put into the Route 7 widening project from 123 to 495. It just shows it as unspent. And I'd like to, on the chart, I'd like to know where is that money and how is that being utilized?
We will have all of that information when we have more details on the project when we meet next.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
I think we need to ensure that the meeting, our next meeting occurs sufficiently before your meeting with VDOT. So I'm uncomfortable with saying in the next couple of months, because I think that is probably too far out. So I would encourage you to schedule it sooner rather than later so that the issues can be settled. I'm with Mark Zetz in terms of thinking that particular project is critical, and we from the transportation district funding are only providing a very, very tiny amount of it. So it's something I would like to not see us miss a deadline in terms of being able to address it in time for you before you have to begin or undertake negotiations with VDOT. So
Absolutely.
sooner rather than later.
Yes, we
And
will.
I'll be home in 2 weeks.
Okay. So we will have that discussion with VDOT, and we'll look at a timeline, and then we will get back to you on a date that works for everybody.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So thank you to, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think Ray may have one more comment.
Yeah, just a quick question. First of all, I think it's great that we've got some TCA members joining. I know in the meetings, I'm part of the TCA board as well, that they have a transportation committee. And I often ask how that overlaps with this committee. And I guess now we'll be able to do some planning together. I know there's a meeting coming up on the 20th with TCA. because I just got the notice on that. Are they going to select the board members to join us, or how are those 2 slots going to be filled?
I'm afraid I do not have that information at the moment. I'll have to check with Christina. Christina has been coordinating with the TCA members, and we will get back to you on that.
Yeah, I'll probably have an answer in the next couple of days at the 20th TCA meeting anyway. So that's all for me. I'm gonna figure out how to lower my hand. Okay.
All right, great. So thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. A link will be sent by email to all the members when the recording of tonight's meeting has been uploaded to our website, and we will see you all in a month or so.
Sounds great. Thanks
John.
for all your effort and work.
Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.